Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome back to KRF TV for race 3 of the final practice sessions before the Daytona Prototype SuperSprint kicks off. As we go to live pictures, we're riding on the front of Aaron Farmer's car, and just not certain who we're chasing at the moment, but interesting exercise. Now, looks like we're just having a couple of technical issues, so we're riding just as he loses it, so we're just gonna hold station while we've got a couple of minutes to go and get this sorted. And we're back, and now the overlay is actually up and working. Sorry about that, guys. Small technical issue, still getting my head around the software. And looks like the cameraman is still hanging on to the front of Aaron Farmer's car as we come around the last, as he makes a dive for pit lane. Wow. Just having a look at Lance's car. We've got a minute 20 before the cars all scoot back into pit lane and form up ready for their formation lap before the start of the race. Race 2, how was it? Nice and exciting. There was not necessarily all the fast guys up the front, but I think the track conditions caught a few drivers out, and being that each session they only get 10 minutes to have a look at the track with their setup, and being a fixed setup, they don't get to change much except for probably steering assistance, and I've got a funny feeling that is it. These guys are actually don't have much time to get a feel for the track. They get a bit of a glimpse of it when they log in, bang out about 3 or 4 laps, and then go straight into a race on those conditions. Little bit unique to some of the other stuff in Australian sim motor racing, as usually there's a server up for 30 minutes to an hour practice session, and then on to 30 minutes to an hour in a practice session, sometimes 90 minutes. Then they qualify for 1 lap dash, 30 minutes under similar conditions, and then into their race, still on a very similar session.
Good luck, all. How's the record point system? Top qualifier doesn't get a pole throughout the whole series. What's going on?
And there's our pole sitter actually having a little bit of a complaint.
You get the bonus was qualifying, but the reverse grids were depending on where you finish all the time. So for unlapped cars, get the reverse grid.
Just explain, Aaron just queried why he hasn't been able to get on pole. He actually picked up a full 50 points for putting it on pole, and it's the same point system down through qualifying as it is for the race. So 50 for first, 49 for second, 48 for third, and so forth and so forth. So effectively we've got Christian Hilton on first. And what I'm reading didn't quite make sense. So as they start cycling around, they've got an idea of where they want their tyre temperatures for the start of the race, how they're going to attack it. This race is 5 minutes longer. These drivers have just done 2 sprint races, 15 minutes. They're in that mindset of roughly how many laps they're doing over the last 2 races. They'll get to that point in this race and realise there's still probably 2 or 3 laps still to do in 5 minutes. And all of a sudden the concentration level starts to wander. The cars are being pushed for longer than what they expected to be pushed for. They're used to, they've already done 2 15s where they know exactly where the car goes in 15 minutes. Now this race pushes that extra 5 minutes. And a couple of weeks ago when we did this, a lot of mistakes started getting into the drivers in that last 5 minutes. Cars starting to slide around. I think I saw one car go from drop 4 spots coming out of one corner from an error late in the race, where if the race finished 15 minutes he would have been in the top 3, end up back in 6th or 7th over those last 5 minutes. But this also gives the fast guys that readily pick their way through the field to actually have a crack at an extra 5 minutes to work their way through the field, can take a little bit more time to do it and look after their car a little bit more, don't have to be in quite a hurry. So although it's still only 20 minutes, it's a lot more to it than just being able to race hard. The mindset has to change from the last 2 races. But anyway, as they come through the last bit of the infield, and the pace car is about to pull off, pace car's off and they're gone. And a little bit of a hold up and 3 wide coming up into the first corner. Wow. This is going to get very interesting very quick. They're running 2 abreast through the field. Just going to scoot up to the chopper. We actually might go the blimp. Up into the blimp. Now we've already broken up into 2 packs. We're going to stick with the lead 4 cars at the moment, which is Rog McIver, Mark Pazovic, Aaron Farmer and Warwick Brown. And we're going to go 3 wide.
You have to give room, TJ. You can't just try and push me off the edge, mate.
Wow. 3 wide coming up into the left-hander onto the back straight. This got rid. Rob is getting absolutely swamped now by the cars. Yeah. But nicely done. Everyone sort of got through. Nice and clean. So we have Mark Pazovic out front. Actually, Aaron has just gone, and we'll have another look at what just happened to Mark. Have another look at what just happened to Mark coming through that last. What's he done? He's just rode the curb, it's flicked the rear end around and just threw him into the outside. He's just spun it back around and get going. He's still got plenty of time to catch the guys and get back into it. Now this looks like battle that's going to start brewing up now. This is for 3rd and 4th. It looks like TJ's already taken a little bit of aero damage in the front of that car. And so's Paul Gorell. Have a little bit of damage in that. They're pushing actually quite hard. We're also hunting down first and second Aaron Farmer and Warwick Browning. Just scooting back, a nice little battle, and looks like Martin Reams has just slid off the road. 2 spots nearly instantly. Although he's still fighting with Christian Hilton, trying to hang on to only losing 1 spot, but eventually has to surrender it. Oh, a little bit of a bump and pass. And as I spoke about earlier, at the beginning of this race, while they're doing their sight lap, it's the mindset. They've been doing 2 15-minute races. They are used to pushing really, really hard. This race they've got an extra 5 minutes to do what they need to do. So some guys are better at changing their mindset versus some of the other guys. We'll see how this pans out in the last 5 minutes. But at the moment, Creamers is pushing very hard, trying to make ground up. Back up the front we have Aaron and Warwick Brown. We might actually jump on board Warwick's car and have a really, really good look of how the fight's panning out. Wow, how close was that coming onto that last kink in the corner, onto the front straight. And we're still on Warwick Brownie's car, but we're now looking out the rear of it at TJ Brown. And he's pushing, trying to stay with these lead 2 cars. I think that was Rob that had just span directly in front. Just still trying to find the replay. Looks like he was just coming out of the pits, so probably cold tyres, picked up the throttle too early. He's looped it, he's locked it down. He's going to sit there and wait for the traffic to go past and spin around and get it going. And we also have a couple other cars going wide out there too. So back to live pictures now. Still looking at Rob, and he's not much damage to that car. Looks like it's still pretty straight after that spin. So he's been able to keep it off anything that could damage the car. Back at the race leaders now, and we have still got Aaron Farmer out in front and Warwick Brown in second. And these guys haven't really got much more than half a second apart from each other. Aaron hasn't been able to quite snap that elastic band that's pulling Warwick along. As we start approaching the 10-minute mark, the field's starting to spread out a little bit. Aaron's able to stretch that gap out to about 0.6, 0.7 mark, and then Warwick's about able to pull it back in to about 0.3, but slowly but surely Aaron's just starting to edge away. In saying that, Warwick's been able to chase right back up on it through this section of the track, so depending on characteristics of the car, each car could be stronger or weaker in different sections, depending how they've been looking after their tyres. Just looking at TJ at the moment circulating. Just keeping it quite clean. Probably just sitting back looking after the tyres. Probably could end up in a really strong spot going into the last 5 minutes. Just keeps nursing that car where he is. Especially if Farmer and Brownie ahead of him keep pushing hard like they were. Although that gap's starting to blow out, Aaron's starting to pull away. Christian Hilton looks to be the leading KRF car out there at the moment, sitting back in 5th place. About 8 seconds behind Creamers in 4th. Got a nice little buffer over his teammate Paul Garrell, sitting in 6th. back up the front again. We've still got Aaron Farmer out in front. Starting to just stretch his lead out, up over the 1 second bracket at the moment. Which are both just starting to pull away from TJ Brown a little bit more. And it's going to be quite a interesting finish between these two guys, or these top three runners, depending on how each driver is looking after his tyres. Still got 6 minutes 15 seconds to go. It's going to be interesting going into the last 5 minutes of who's been able to nurse their tyres that little bit better. Just jump on board with Aaron, our race leader, and just see how comfortable he's actually doing it at the moment. See, by the information up on the screen, Aaron started third. He's gone to the lead of the front of the race and hasn't looked back. 11 laps so far in this race, which effectively he will still have 3, possibly 4 laps to go. And hopefully by having that extra 5 minutes, fatigue starts to settle in after doing 2 other short sprints. Nice time to pop up and have a look back here. A couple of teammates either towing each other along or about to go into a nice, decent little fight between Christian Hilton and Paul Gorell. Here we go, up on the inside. Looks like Christian just shuts the door, holds Paul up a little bit at the apex and pulls a bit of a gap going down the back straight. Paul's made a heap of time up and is effectively can't do anything with it due to the nature of that part of the circuit. And catching the car at the wrong time as you come through corners just does so much damage to your exit speed onto the straights to even have a crack. This, I'd say Paul needs to start just ease off a little bit. He knows he's quicker through the second part of the infield of the track, and possibly try and time it that he catches his teammate as they pull onto the main straight to get the a lot better slingshot, although it looks like he might have a crack down the back straight. No. quite a bit of a fight. This is the closest. We've got 2 cars at the moment across the field. He's not close enough that time round. But they are pushing quite hard. We might jump in if we can. Jump in with Paul and see how hard he is working behind that wheel. There he goes, straight up the inside. Made it look really, really easy in the end. And the pace that Paul was showing, I'd say he will pull out and start hunting creamers down. But I also don't think Christian's going to give up being beaten by his teammate in a hurry either. Heading back to the front, Aaron's still leading. He's led all 15 laps, so the pole sitter is actually in a potential winning position, although it looks like Warwick Brownie is actually starting to pull him back to just over half a second at the rear after a gap of nearly 1.6 seconds earlier in the race. So he's starting to reel him in. So this could be a matter of just looking after, easing back, looking after the tyres, have another crack at him near the end. Although there's the race finish, so that explains it. Didn't realise the clock had actually ran out.
Pushing me all the way, mate.
Hey, good race. Good race.
Well done, guys.
Good race, though.
And there you go. The old commentator gets caught up in watching the racing and the gaps and everything else. He actually loses track of how much time's left in the race. So unofficial results, we have Aaron Farmer in first, Warwick Brown in second, Warwick Brownie in second, TJ Brown in third, Martin Creamers in fourth, Paul Gorell in fifth, Christian Hilton in sixth, Mark Pazovich in seventh, Lance Hawkins in eighth, Rog McIver in ninth, and Jacob Brown in 10th. That's our three races for today's. That's our three races for today. It's going to be interesting who actually wins the round due to the pole sitter only won the last race, and two other pole sitters, and depending on where they all finished, is going to be quite an interesting exercise. Next week is round one of the DPSS series, and the schedule actually hasn't been set yet, but I believe it could be a toss-up between Watkins Glen and Atlanta Motor Speedway. Actually, I'd nearly suggest it'd be one of the two tracks. I could be wrong. I've actually got to talk to my boss to find out which way we're going to go with the schedule, and we're hoping to have it up by Tuesday before the season starts. Anyhow,
Yeah, well done.
thank you for watching, and Friday the 11th is round 1 of the series, and we will be recording live, pushing the broadcast up straight after the 3 races so people get to watch, and we'll see you all then. Thank you very much.